For the Feast of Christ the King, I'm going to read an episode from Maria Valtorta's poem of the Man God, which is in volume 4 of the 1986 English 5-volume hardback set, and it's chapter 462, and it's titled In Chuza's Country House, the tempting proposal made to Jesus and made known by the disciple Jesus loved. This is alluded to in a very brief way, so it's impossible really to know what the content of that allusion is, in chapter 6 verse 15 of St. John's Gospel, when it says he fled from them because they wanted to try to make him king. This is the Feast of Christ the King, so I'm going to be showing from this episode how, one might say, cunning Jesus is. He knows exactly what the political situation is in the world of his time. He knows how he could be easily entrapped if he's not as sharp as a pin. He knows that he's king, but he's the kind of king that these people are not used to and do not expect, the Israelites. He's a different kind of king, a more important, more exalted king. And he has to both disabuse people of goodwill of that and avoid the snares of those who are of bad will. And this chapter is really about those who are of bad will, the powerful ones in Israel, who are seeking to ensnare him. Because you can imagine, if they want to get rid of him, what we see happened in the Gospels was that they manoeuvred Pontius Pilate into a corner so that he could not do what he wanted to do, which was to release Jesus, but he was driven down a path where he had to order his execution. But prior to that, they had other options, and one was to make him a king, so that then he'd lead a rebellion, and then the Romans would slaughter him and everybody else who was behind him. Of course, the possibility would be that his rebellion might be successful, in which case they had encouraged him to rebellion, so they could benefit as well. So it was a win-win situation for them if they could get him into position. And that's what this chapter is about, their effort to do so. Prior to this, we have Chuza, who I mentioned is in the heading of this, or the title to this chapter. Chuza is Herod's chief steward. That's mentioned in St. Luke's Gospel, chapter 8, in relation to the women who follow our Lord and the apostles. They were suffering from various infirmities and evil spirits, and Mary Magdalene is mentioned there, the one who had 7 spirits, and Chuza, and Johanna, the wife of Chuza. Chuza is an extremely important figure. Being the chief steward, he's extremely powerful in Herod's kingdom. And it's Chuza who's had his ear bent by these powerful figures in Israel, priests and Pharisees, to assist Jesus. He's misunderstood. He's misunderstood them. They want a reconciliation. They want to explain their real helpful intentions towards Jesus. And if only Chuza can persuade Jesus to just speak to them. And Jesus said, no, this is pointless. But Chuza has been insistent because he really believes that Jesus' mission can be helped by these people who are sincere. There's just been a set of misunderstandings. In the end, Jesus relents. He'll go to the meeting that Chuza has suggested. And that's where this vision now begins. On the other shore, at the end of the bridge, a covered wagon is already waiting. Get in, master. You'll not get tired, although the journey is a long one, because I gave instructions to have yokes of oxen here all the time, in order not to give offence to guests more observant of the law. They are to be pitied. But where are they? They've preceded us in other wagons. Tobbit? Master, says the driver who's yoking the oxen. Where are the other guests? Oh, far ahead. They must almost be at the house. Do you hear that, master? And if I'd not come, says Jesus. Oh, we were certain that you would come. Why should you not have come? Because, says Jesus, Chuza, I've come to prove to you that I'm not a coward. Only wicked people are cowardly. Those who are at fault and consequently are afraid of justice. Of the justice of men, unfortunately, whereas they ought to be afraid first of all of the only one, of God's justice. But I'm not in the wrong, and I'm not afraid of men. But Lord, all those who are with me revere you as I do, and there's no reason whatsoever why we should frighten you. We want to honour you, not insult you. Chuza is grieved and almost angry. Jesus, who is sitting in front of him while the wagon proceeds slowly, creaking amidst the green countryside, replies, rather than the open war of enemies, I must fear the underhand one of false friends, or the unjust zeal of true friends who've not yet understood me, and you are one of them. Do you not remember what I said at Betha? I've understood you, Lord, whispers Chuza. But he's not very sure of himself and does not answer the question directly. Yes, says Jesus, you have understood me. During the wave of sorrow and joy, your heart had become as clear as the sky with a rainbow after a storm, and you saw things in a just manner. Then, turn around, Chuza, and look at our Sea of Galilee. It looked so limpid at dawn. During the night, the dew had cleansed the atmosphere, and the cold air had mitigated the evaporation of the waters. Sky and lake were two sheets of clear sapphire, reflecting their respective beauties, and the hills all around were fresh and clean, as if God had created them during the night. Look now. The dust of the coastal roads, trodden by people and animals, the heat of the sun, which makes woods and gardens steam like boilers on a hearth and inflames the lake, making its water evaporate. Look how they've disturbed the view. The shores previously looked close at hand, so neat they were in the very clean air. But look now, they look dimmed, blurred, and seem to be trembling like objects seen through a veil of impure water. The same has happened to you. Dust, humanity. Sun, pride. Chuza, do not upset yourself. Chuza lowers his head, toying mechanically with the ornaments of his robe and with the buckle of his rich sword belt. Jesus is silent, with his eyes almost closed, as if he were sleepy. Chuza respects his sleep, or what he thinks is such. The wagon proceeds slowly southeastwards, towards the light undulations which form, at least I think so, the first terraces of the tableland that circumscribes the Jordan Valley on this eastern side. The country is fertile and beautiful, owing to the abundance of underground waters or to some stream. Grapes and fruit are hanging on every tree. The wagon leaves the main road and takes a private one, entering an avenue thick with trees, under which is shade and cool air, at least relatively cool, as compared with the sunny main road, which is like a furnace. A low, white, magnificent-looking house is at the end of the avenue, More modest houses are scattered here and there in the fields and vineyards. The wagon crosses a little bridge and a borderline, beyond which the orchard changes into a garden with an avenue strewn with pebbles. Jesus opens his eyes at the different noise of the wheels on the pebbles.